Back on our schedule, we have Mayor Catherine Prokop over to get caught up on the happenings in the city of Twinsburg for the month of February. Kathy, thanks. I'm glad I know it took a while to get back to Cleveland. You had trouble with the weather, but she's back. And we'll spend the next 28 minutes talking about things happening in Twinsburg, beginning with some old items because we didn't meet last month. But a new group had begun that I know you're a member of. So yes. I'm going to talk about the Community Investment Corporation, what it's made up with people-wise, and what the main objective of that group is, because you were able to secure $300,000 in startup costs. Now, is that from your budget, or where was it?
It is.
Okay.
It's a Community Improvement Corporation. And it's very similar to community development corporations. Mm-hmm. It's just a little variation on the type of organization it is. But many, many cities use these for development projects and to encourage new development and economic growth in the city. Larry Finch is our executive director. Okay. Dave Maestro serves on it, our law director. Karen House, our finance director. We have 3 council people, myself, a representative from the schools, and we also have 3 business people from the city. The purpose of this organization is to define some projects that would encourage growth in the city. Right now we're focused on the downtown area of the city of Twinsburg. And obviously, if we're going to do some land purchases, assembling land is a big part of this organization. We're trying to assemble property so that we will get some unified development when it's time for development of the area. And in order to do that, we need some startup money, and that is coming, a portion of it is coming from the bed tax. Oh, okay. The city of Twinsburg has a bed tax. Obviously, that's on hotels, motels, things like that. And they have given us some startup money, about $300,000 for land purchase. And nobody in this group or organization gets paid. There are no salaries. This is strictly for economic development. We're also going to be administering the tax incentive programs, which is the CRA, the TOP program, the enterprise zone. The administrative fees that we collect from the companies will be coming to the CIC, because we'll be doing all the paperwork, have the meetings, and do the administrative part. Now,
when this group, let's say you have to go out and purchase some of this land, do we run into issues then of zoning changes, that sort of thing, or is that pretty well set?
The zoning is what it is. I mean, if there were any zoning changes involved, we would have to follow the same procedures anybody else has, and that would mean to go to the ballot. Mm-hmm. But we're just looking at things, again, around the square, which is zones C5.
I figure that's the pinpointed area that you're looking at.
That is the focus area.
You know, and a lot of times, because I remember one of your hats that you wear is, you know, economic development, that sort of thing. But I think this is a great idea, and it's just the kind of the mode of what most people are doing now, where you have your finance director involved and Larry Finch is involved. As far as it's not just the mayor going out and soliciting people to come to this area, you have a nice little group that's handling.
Absolutely. That's why we have business members from the community involved also.
Do they bring a lot of good ideas to the table?
They do. They bring the business perspective, what they visualize that the city needs to help their businesses grow and other businesses grow in the city. So it's a nice rounded group. We have government, we have the schools, we have business.
Can you mention some of the business people involved? I mean, you
sure.
named
Roger Green from the Hilton Garden Inn, Anne-Marie Hagenboo from First Merit Bank, and I'm sorry, but the name escapes me.
Okay. But the point is, you do have some people that are established in town.
Yes,
as far
definitely.
As helping out with that. Have you made any contacts with anybody?
Right now,
where are we mode-wise with this group as far as what do you do now?
Okay. And also Don Spice from the Architectural Review Board.
Okay.
Although he's not a board member, he's a representative for the ARB and attends the meetings.
Okay.
Right now, we're focusing on the the southeast quadrant of the city, which is where the school is, the old school.
Okay.
We're working with some RFQs, which is a request for qualification statements from developers, bringing them in, interviewing them to see if we can find a development partner for that area.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll be able to find a development partner and be able to start having focus groups with the communities, with the businesses, to find out what kind of development we should have there and what we're interested in.
Okay. You're kind of bringing people up to speed in the last time from now and the last time that you and I met. The Architectural Review Board gave clearance for whatever you want, whatever the city deems they want to do with this old school now. And I know there's a group out there that's been trying to save this, but I promised she isn't a member, but she's for this. But in the past, this wasn't just a quick decision on the city's part as far as we just want to tear down that old school and go the route that you're going now. Did the city look for grants way back when? Something in the back of my mind remembers you talking about this was, years ago, trying to find money for that.
Well, it's kind of interesting because back in 1992, the schools had done a study a few years earlier when they were considering what they were going to do with that school, if they were going to continue it as an elementary school or sell it or demolish it. And back then, the study that they had performed said that the cost for renovation would be $2.8 million.
20 years ago.
And that was 20 years ago. At the end of the 90s, we had another study done for cost of renovation because we were looking at a couple things. We had the senior center located there. That was their first home. Mm-hmm. Kent State University was offering classes. Chrysler was using a portion of the building. So over the years, we kept the building up as best that we could because that study at that time indicated that it was going to be millions of dollars to renovate it. So we kept things going, mm-hmm. and Kent State, as you know, was in there for years. We knew Kent State was leaving, so we went out and did another study. And this was a feasibility study for if we could have museums in there, shops, a visitor center, any kind of retail, commercial enterprise. And that is the study that said it would cost $4 to $8 million to renovate this building.
Okay.
And which makes sense. 20 years ago, $2.8 million. Now, 20 years later, $4 to $8 million. So during that time period, we looked into grants. We found out a couple things. Obviously, the city is not eligible for tax grants because we don't pay taxes. So those are for private developers. The kind of grants that we were looking at for an arts center, for arts and entertainment, theater groups, there's money out there, but it's $50,000, $100,000. There is nothing that is going to cover renovating that building $4 to $8 million. That's just, it's totally out of the reach of any kind of grant opportunities that are out there.
I know they're vocal and I know they have a strong passion for this, but I think that's a good example of they're blind to the fact that you have taken the time and done the homework as far as trying to save that way back when. For the last 20 years, you've looked at different options and different tenants that might be in there. So I think it's a little selfish on their part to act like the city is just, we're just going to tear it down like this was a decision made a month ago.
Right. We toured incubators. We toured the Akron incubator. We went out to Tuscarawas County and looked at some of the things that they were doing out there. That building just does not lend itself to it. From the study that we had done, only about 40% of that building would be reusable for office space. It just doesn't make sense anymore.
Okay. And the other confusing part that I don't understand, and maybe you can explain, one of their arguments is this is a historical, it's labeled a historical building in Twinsburg. How does that work as far as the national registry of this or that or whatever? Yeah. Because, some buildings you can't tear down because they qualify as something like that.
We do have a building in town on the National Registry, the Congregational Church.
Church, right.
To be on the National Register, it has to be a significant architectural style or an architect who designed the building or some prominent person that went. There's certain things to be on a National Register.
Okay.
Even our own codes. Anything over 50 years in the city of Twinsburg is looked at as a possible historic building if it's over 50 years old. That's the first criteria. Mm-hmm. But then again, it has to be a notable architect, a person of note who lived in the building, some historic significance. It's just not. There are old schools all over the country, and it just doesn't qualify. So our Architectural Review Board reviewed those criteria, those three things, and eventually gave us a certificate of appropriateness. Now, that's not a demolition permit. What it does is it says the building is not historic, and you can either demo it or renovate it, whatever you need to do with it. It's a certificate of appropriateness.
Let me. I guess I'll be blunt. Do you have any plans on raising it anytime soon? And if you do you feel that you're going to be inviting any kind of a lawsuit from any of these people? You and I have been involved in these crazy things before. So
sure. No, we don't have plans for immediate demolition. when we're interviewing the development partner that we're looking for, we're leaving it totally open.
Okay.
Either the building could be part of your development process or it could be demoed and you start
a lot
from
like
scratch.
the Chrysler, where the company that bought the property is in charge of paying for the raising of that, the rest of that, but which we'll get to in a second.
Right.
But that wasn't the city's responsibility to pay for that once that land was sold.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
So that's the kind of same thing that we're looking at.
So you leave the
there.
door open. Who knows? Someone may want to come in and renovate that thing and make something out of it. The fact that it wasn't torn down by the city leaves that option open.
Right. And if we get to the point where we find no one that's interested in it, we may have to demo it.
Right.
We haven't
they
reached...
say we would green light this project if you got rid of that old school.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we haven't reached that point yet. And then when we do, we will apply for a demolition permit, and we will go through the entire process, going through the planning commission, presenting plans, so that will all take place.
So all the ducks will be in a row, and you're not inviting any kind of litigation down the road.
That's right.
Okay, smart move. All right, let's move on to, let's talk about your non-union employees. Did they receive recently a raise?
We did. Our salary ordinance was passed, excuse me, in December. And all of our non-union employees received a 3% raise. Pretty much it's our department heads, our supervisors, and part-time employees.
Okay. Let me spin into, though, I'm sure that costs X amount of dollars. I don't know if you know off the top of your head. And with the rescinding of the past issue, the income tax or whatever that you had to cut it back, is that going to be a strain on the budget at all, doing that now?
Well, we're very fortunate. The last few years we've been able to put away some reserves. We ended up with a $26 million balance in our general fund. But exactly for that reason, because of the rescinding the income tax.
How much did that cost the city as far as going back to the old rate?
About $3.5 million a year.
Okay. So it's a chunk.
So that 0.25% is about $3.5 million per year, and that's what we'll be
making up, so to speak.
Right,
okay.
Exactly. So, yes, so we have a real nice reserve right now in our general fund, but we're getting prepared for what we're going to be facing.
Well, let's before we go to our break, let's talk about your budget now, being that you had to take that in consideration. I have $46 million here. I don't know if that's the total budget.
That's everything.
Okay. So can you break that down for me as far as what that
about
means?
80% of that is salaries.
Okay.
That, of course, is our largest.
How many employees again are we at?
About 165 right now.
And it's been that.
And we also have some part-time employees, but 165 full-time employees. Yes, it's been that way since before we rescinded the income, or before we increased the income tax. We have about $5 million in capital projects. Westwood Drive is going to be done. We have some right-of-way that we're purchasing for State Route 91. Other road projects, our striping program. So lots of capital projects this year, and just our general needs for the city. Equipment purchases, product purchases, a lot going on.
You know what, though? You guys have done a nice job of sharing regionalization as far as you don't have to buy a lot of it. If you can share it with another town. I know you've been taking advantage of that. And my real important question with the budget, I guess, in the latest figures from Karen House, revenue-wise, are we still doing above what you did a year ago as far as...
We are right now, but it seems that that's been the trend. In January and February, our revenues always seem to be up, and then they go down as the months go on. So we'll see where we end up. This is really hard to tell in these first couple of months.
Okay. Let's take our break. We'll go down now for the meetings for the month of February, and then Kathy and I will finish things up, so stay with us.
If I ever get...
Back with Kathy Prokop. Let me get into some little tributaries here, and beginning with, Turtle Pond is part of one of your major areas as far as park goes, and somebody was gracious enough, because if people want to get out and really look at things, they can actually go on a dock that was paid for by somebody anonymously, correct?
Oh, yeah, and our thanks to that person. We're just delighted about it. This is in Center Valley Park.
Okay.
And there was an old dock there, and
it just deteriorated.
It deteriorated. So we have a brand new floating dock. It's much nicer. It's bigger. It goes further out into the pond. It was quite pricey. It was about $35,000.
Right.
This person left it in memory of her husband, who enjoyed the park. So really, we were so appreciate it.
It's got to be nice when you get the call or letter or whatever, when people are like, I want to give money back to the city, and have them do something with it.
Oh,
something
definitely.
You don't budget for,
Right. And, it's surprising. We do have, even though they're not projects maybe of that magnitude, there are small things that go on all the time. Somebody plants a tree in the memory of somebody or donates a bench or something. It's very, very nice. We really do appreciate it.
Well, it shows you people enjoy living there.
Right.
Okay, you laughed at me when I brought this up because to you it's like old hat, but you have a new, as of first of the year, new council president and vice president. Do you want to mention that?
I did because, it took place in December, but we didn't talk about it last time, and we do. We have a new council president, Maureen Stauffer, so we're delighted to have Maureen representing council, and she backs me up, which is
And she's a veteran now. There was a time when she was the newbie, but she's
definitely a veteran, doing a great job. And Sam Scafidi is our vice president of council. Obviously, Sam has lots of experience on council.
That's a solid group there now, isn't it?
It's a great group. I really, really enjoy working with them. It's very cohesive.
The elder statesman, Bob, how long do you think he's going to be there? Victor?
I don't know.
He's been there a long time.
He's been there a long time, and next year, 15, he'll be up for re-election.
Wow. Okay. We won't get into the details here because I know you had to let somebody go, but there is an open position right now for the Human Resource Director. Where are you in the interviewing process, and when do you hope to have that? Because I know, as we're going to be talking about, you have some negotiations going on, and you don't have a person there to be doing that. So tell us that situation.
Okay. It actually was a contract that I didn't renew for Clay Morris.
Okay.
Clay Morris was on contract. His contract was up at the end of the year. Did not renew the contract, and I'm really looking at going back to a full-time HR director. We're pretty excited about it. This person also supervises IT, so we need somebody that's versed in IT issues and understands that. So the interview process started in January. I interviewed I had the job posting out for 10 days, and I received quite a few back, 39 applications or something. But there's some very specific things I'm looking for, somebody with government experience in HR. Government is just a lot different because of the shifts and the negotiations, and it's just a lot different than private industry.
Okay.
So that's definitely one of the criteria I'm looking for. And we just reposted the job again. It will be up for 2 weeks, and applications are due back by the end of February.
And then you do a next round of interviews.
And we'll do another round of interviews.
Does this have more pinpoint into what you're looking for this time around?
I think that was the mistake I made the first time. It wasn't tailored enough to what we were exactly looking for. So this time we really have it nailed down.
Now, you mentioned that Clay Morris was a contract versus a full-time
employee.
Will that require any kind of charter change? I don't remember, because I remember there was language last time the Charter Review Committee got together, and I don't remember if it changed that, or is it something you can do without having to do that?
HR Director is a position in our salary ordinance. The council passed the salary ordinance in December. That position's in there with a range for a salary.
Gotcha.
So we're all set up.
When would you like this done?
I would have liked it done at the beginning of January. Yesterday, yes, absolutely, because we already have notices to negotiate. Negotiations are going to be starting here very, very shortly with our police officers union. And
now, until that happens, who handles it? You?
The department head, Dave Maestros, our law director, and I, and Karen House, our finance director. But we really would like to have somebody who has a little bit of distance between the union and us, an intermediary, if you will. So as soon as we get somebody on board, I believe that I'm going to have to contract with somebody to do the negotiations.
Because you can't hold that up. I mean, you're in a time frame there.
Yeah, and it's really, really, it's going to be a very busy time of year. We have our health renewals right now. This is our hiring for all of our summer and seasonal employees.
So there's a lot going on.
The negotiations going on. Plus, we all have our regular jobs.
And I don't remember. Do you stagger everything? Is it, dispatchers are 1 year, police are 1 year?
Right now, we have police officers, dispatch, and sergeants, and then we also have Teamsters this year. So it's going to be a very, very busy year.
Okay, so the sooner this does get filled, the better.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, believe it or not, my weekend guy, who's a little light on being able to see real well, is the one that had to tell me, hey, did you notice that they took down the rest of the Chrysler? I drive by there and don't even pay attention anymore. But, yes, that is now gone. So where are we? I know there's some very good nibbles out there, let's put it that way, as far as people interested in maybe coming into that area, and I know you can't name any right now. But is one of the criteria with maybe getting more nibbles, getting it cleaned up?
Oh, I think that's going to be a big, big help in marketing the property. As you know now, the administrative portion of the building's down. They took out the entire 2.2 million square feet of Chrysler.
Gone.
It's a whole new era beginning here. They're dewatering the basement right now. There's lots of work still going on, crushing up the foundations, things like that. But it's getting finished. So once that's cleared and we start putting that road in, we have wonderful rail access back there. I really think that will.
Do you think that's been a roadblock? The fact that people think that, there's too much debris there?
Well, I think that's part of it. I think they think, well, how long is it going to actually be till this is cleaned up, till I can have a nice site? So I think being able to really visualize a good location, good site is going to make a difference. But, yes, we do have a very good prospect, and we're hoping that we can make it.
And I don't think people also realize as big an area as that is, and as much concrete, et cetera, and filling in the basement and all the things that are involved, what an expensive project that is to get out of there. And, again, this isn't put on your shoulders as far as paying for it. That was all in the agreement with the people that bought that property.
That's
correct?
true.
Now, they did get a decent grant.
We applied for a grant with the owners of the property, and we were able to secure $5.2 million in grants, the CORF grant, the JRS grant, and some roadway money. So that came to $5.2 million, but they're putting $14 million of private money into the cleanup and infrastructure.
Yeah, I don't think that's before they have any.
Before you have anything there, right.
What do you envision for that down the road? If it was the best case scenario to you, everything's cleaned out. I mean, are you looking for any specific niche to go in there?
Oh, absolutely. Manufacturing, without a doubt.
Because of the rail and et cetera.
We have great rail. Manufacturing would be the best thing to put over there. Obviously, it brings in more jobs than like a distribution center. So we would hope that we get some manufacturing.
Your timing may be well, too, because manufacturing's making a comeback.
It is.
So that would be wonderful to come in there. I'm sure Larry Finch and people like that are just frothing. Get all this debris out of here so we can go out and market this place.
It'll be great.
And I read, I don't know if it's the bulletin or what, there may be a chance of having actually more people working there when it's all said and done than during the heyday of Chrysler, which was... Well,
during the heyday, there were about 4,500 employees there. But when they left...
2,000?
Yeah, that was 1,200, but they were averaging about 2,500 employees, like when Jim Caravan was in office.
Would you be happy to have 2,500?
I would be thrilled with 2,500 employees there.
What was the financial total again during, I mean, let's talk about when it was 2,500, not 4,500, impacted the city money-wise?
That was about $3 to $4 million. Yeah. And by the time they left, about $2 million.
But still, a big chunk.
A big chunk, yes.
So again, thank God the voters passed that for the last 3 years. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about you lost a fire chief, resignation took over, or retirement took over. So mention something about Rick, and then tell us what's going on as far as the new one.
Okay, well, former, we can now say, retired Chief Rick Racine was with the city for 39 years.
Wow.
Started as a part-timer and advanced through the ranks. And at the end of the 90s, he became chief, 97, I think. So we worked together for a long time, and he did a great job.
He did do a nice job.
And he's just got to the point where it was time to retire, and I'm very happy for him because I know that he's really going to enjoy it. There's lots of things that he wants to get done that when you're working, you just put aside.
Everyone talks about what you've seen since you've been there as far as the growth in the city. You know, it's no different with the fire chief as far as there were new fire stations installed. I mean, the equipment changed.
Oh, the technology.
Raze, yeah, I mean, he took a front seat to a lot of that.
Absolutely. Even helping bring the department from a part-time to a full-time department. Chief Dan Semichuk was our first chief, then Chief Racine, and now we have our third chief, Chief Tim Morgan.
And he was hired from within. This isn't somebody you brought from out and about.
Right. He was captain in the department, and we went through a whole series of testing, and just delighted to have appointed Tim.
Congratulations, Tim. Let's stay with the safety forces. Also, which was something new in the city of Twinsburg, you created, or maybe this was on the books way back when, a true assistant police chief. Is that correct?
This is the first time
that wasn't there before.
Right. This is the first time that we have an assistant police chief. And Bob Gonjeski has been working his way up through the ranks, promoted him last month. Just thrilled to have him on board. I know that Chief Noga is also. He's going to help out in the administrative end.
Yeah, I was going to say, what will be different from the police chief? What duties does he hand off to the assistant?
Well, he'll be doing a lot of the administrative, and he'll also be doing a lot of face-to-face with the lieutenants and with the sergeants. So I think it's a great move for the department. Obviously, we're always looking at promotional opportunities and advancement and training our workforce. So it really fits
How
well.
many people do you have on this police force now?
Oh, my goodness. I think 45, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, so it does relieve a little bit of what Chris does, because, I mean, he was spending so much time, at City Hall, that sort of thing, away from, what he needs to be doing, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a big job all around when you manage that many people. And Chris has other obligations also. As you said, in fact, he was just the Ohio Police Chief Association. He was the president of that. And there's a lot of other things that you need to do to network and keep connections, and it's going to be good.
Well, and I'm sure the police chief deals with the Summit County sheriff. I mean, you have that
Definitely.
the bigger umbrella to look at that he needs some help there. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, good. Congratulations to him. Now, as we close things down, this snuck up on me. It is that time of year again where later this month you get together. Tell us about the big shindig that's held every year over to Hilton Garden Inn.
The Chamber of Commerce annual State of the City address, and I will be delivering that on February 20th. So make your reservations. Come on in.
I know it's usually a Thursday.
It is.
Okay.
It's a great luncheon, very nice luncheon, and I'm going to try to cut it down a little bit this year.
You better. I would have to cut it. Again, if you're interested, how do people go about getting
You can go online to the Twinsburg Chamber of Commerce and register there, or give the Chamber of Commerce a call. And if you don't have those numbers, call us at City Hall, and we'll get them.
And what's the time on that again?
Starts at 11:30.
Okay. And again, if you're not familiar with this, because I usually tape it every year and again cut some of it, but you go through finances and what the parks have done in the past. I mean, it's really a sweeping review. You get a lot of help putting this together because it takes a while to do this, correct?
No, I write it all myself.
Oh, you lie.
I do.
But I mean, you have to have slides put together and everything else, so it's a big presentation.
Yeah, it is. But well worth it because I think it's very informative.
You get the word out, right?
And that's the point. Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome back. It's good to get back in the driver's seat with you as far as a brand new year. Anything on the docket as far as like where you'd see the city this year going?
Oh boy,
is that Center Valley Park and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we're really going to work on Liberty Park. We want to get that path in. So that's one of our big things. We want to start making those connections. Laurel Trail connecting Chamberlain Road over to the center, not the center of town, but to our library and fitness center.
A lot of things.
A lot of good things.
I'm cutting you off because we got to go. Congratulations, welcome back, and I will see you later this month at the Hilton.
Sounds good.
All righty.
Thank you.